Okay, Dr. Mindy here, and today, because it's fast training week, I want to talk about fasting in your immune system, but I specifically want to dive into how fasting can help you with a bacterial infection and how fasting may or may not help you with a viral infection. So there's a lot of talk right now about immune system, and I really, again, my channel is about giving you guys control back. We have a lot more control over our immune system than the media may let on to or want us to think. So I really want to give you guys some real tools that you can use to keep your immunity at the highest level possible. And because we talk so much about fasting in here, and because it is fast training week, I want to start off by talking about how do you use these fasts to work to your immune system advantage. Okay. Now, having said that, I've quoted a couple of different studies on fasting and immunity, and I want to simplify it for you. And these studies, as many of you have pointed out, that some of the studies I've been quoting on the immune system and fasting are mouse studies. One of the greatest studies that we have on the immune system and fasting is Walter Longo's study, but that was done on white blood cells, that the whole white blood cell count will be rebooted after 3 days of a water fast. So when we go to prevent things like cancer, and 3-day water fasts are amazing. But the shorter fasts are also amazing for different reasons. So autophagy fasting, this is 17 hours of fasting, is been known to really have an effect on bacteria. So if you knew you had a bacterial infection, then you would want to lean into autophagy fasting. Autophagy fasting is where you're going at least 17 hours without food, and you're really also working to keep your protein under 20 grams. I've done a lot of videos on autophagy fasting, so I'm not going to go into the details of that. But if I had like a bacterial infection, I would do a lot of autophagy fasting. So that would be what I would lean into. Now, the research, and this was done on a mouse study, is showing that the longer fast, longer than 17 hours or even longer than 24 hours, may not be as good for viral infections. And here's the reason why, is that because our immune system is got lots of different layers to it. We've got immune systems that are fighting cancer cells, we've got immune system doing bacterial cells, and immune system doing viral cells. The immune system going after viral cells tends to not thrive as much when glucose goes down for a longer period of time. Whereas the bacterial cell part of our immune system actually does thrive when we go into a fasted state. So the first question you got to ask yourself right now, given what's going on in the world, is you have to say, okay, what immune system am I trying to activate? If you're trying to activate an immune system that fights your any kind of viral contact you would come in contact with, then I would encourage you to not go over 24 hours. And I just explained why. Now, at 24 hours, and this may be a little bit technical for some of you guys if you haven't been following all of my fasting benefits chart and all the different times of fasting, but at 24 hours, you are going to get stem cells that are going to be secreted inside and rebooted inside your intestinal tract. Well, 80 to 90% of your immune system is in your intestinal tract. So if you choose to do some 24-hour fasts, you can work on repairing your microbiome, but you're not decreasing glucose too much so that you shut down the viral part of the immune system. You're getting the gut to repair, and so you're getting the best of both worlds. You're activating the immune system within the gut without shutting down the immune system that fights viruses. It's a very fine line. It's like that one little edge right there where if you start to go into 36, 48 hours, this would not be the time, in my opinion, to do a really long 3 to 5 day fast if you're trying to keep your immune system up. But a 24-hour fast to stimulate and repair the gut immune system can be really powerful. So I want to start off saying with that. Now, let's go into the gut for a second and go, okay, what other tools do we have to heal the gut? If so much of our immune system is stemmed from the gut, what else can we do? Well, this is why I call my preferred style of eating Ketobiotic, because we need to lean into our polyphenol foods, our probiotic foods, and our prebiotic foods right now. I have also done a lot of videos on that. But if you were kind of slacking on your sauerkraut intake, now would be the time to up it. Polyphenol foods, you can find a lot of those in spices, you can find them in olives, you can find them, high polyphenol foods can even be in things like coffee, you can find it in raw nuts. So go back and watch the videos that I've done on these types of foods. Prebiotic foods, you can be sprinkling hemp seeds and chia seeds and flax seeds on top of all of your food. So now, in my opinion, is the time to really look at, okay, let me throw in some 24-hour fasts, and let me, when I am eating, let me go into really taking amazing care of my gut bacteria. What can I do to take amazing care of that bacteria? Okay, so those would be two suggestions I have there. Now, where do ketones fit into this picture? So ketones, remember, are an incredible fuel source for the brain. And your brain is controlling everything in your body. So we still want you going in and out of ketosis, because we do want some ketones to be able to get in there and start to heal the brain and keep the brain mentally sharp. Ketones also bring down inflammation. They upregulate GABA, so we can all stay a little calm. That's important right now, that we all stay a little calm. But that would be also, you want to have a good dose of ketones. Having said that, this is not the time to start to go into this massive, like, I want to get 5.0 ketones. This is about, let me hit my sweet spot of ketones, which is around 1.2, 1.3, and let me see if I can hang there while I'm eating some fermented foods, while I'm throwing in some 24-hour fasts. Boom. Now you've got yourself a really solid plan for an immune system that's going to fight bacteria, fight viruses, and is going to grow the good bacteria in your intestinal tract to support your immunity. That, to me, is the smartest approach where we're at right now. If all of this is like, I don't know how to do all that fasting, I don't know how to do all that eating, I don't know how to cycle fasting, if that feels like you, please join me in the Women's Metabolic Reset. It starts in a couple of days, starts on Sunday. Today's Thursday, so join us there. That's the kind of stuff I'm teaching over there, is how do you know when to use the different fasts? How do you know when to use different food styles? This reset will be very focused on balancing hormones and metabolism. What I just outlined for you guys here is really how do you create a fasting lifestyle that's focused on your immune system. And there's going to be overlap in a lot of different places. But that's how you can pull all these tools together. So start long 24-hour fast, lean into your fermented foods, get yourself some ketones. Now you're off to a good start. Now there are other really powerful things you can do, like vitamin D. I'm going to do a whole videos going out on YouTube tomorrow on the healing power of vitamin D, what foods you can get vitamin D from, how do you get more vitamin D from the sun. Do you need a supplement? Do you not? I'll go through that on the video tomorrow. Vitamin C, there's some really cool stories coming out of China where they're doing massive vitamin C IV drips that are helping to upregulate the immune system and is slowing down the spread of the virus. So chiropractic adjustment, I talked about how post-chiropractic adjustment, you have a 48% stronger increase in CD4 cells, which is the part of the immune system that goes after viruses. Sleep, are you putting yourself to bed a little bit earlier? Like, force yourself to get some sleep. Movement, I mean, there's so much we can do that I wanted to come to you guys today and really be clear that the fasting lifestyle benefits you in these moments. It really does. So but you got to know how to use the tools to figure out where do you pull what tool, when do you pull what tool out. And right now the tools to pull out are Ketobiotic, lean into some 24-hour fasts, great tools, and then go outside and get some sun. So with that, I am going to open it up for questions. If you guys have questions at all about fasting and immunity, any of the posts. I did put out some posts this week, videos on foods that raise estrogen and raise testosterone. So we've had really good feedback on those from you guys. But again, if you're watching this, if you're new to my channel, my whole goal is to give you more power than you've been taught. So if you're incredibly nervous right now and you're finding yourself in a very fearful place, then it's time to get yourself educated, because knowledge will put you in a direction that will make you feel powerful. I was talking to a friend this morning who all 3 of her children are not feeling well, and she was panicking a little bit. And I was saying that after sitting next to so many people who have been, sorry, my mic wasn't, you're going to hear me a little clearer now. People that haven't been, that are freaking out, and so many people that have been overwhelmed with their poor health, the best thing you can do is educate yourself and then step in to action. And sometimes if you don't know what the whole path looks like, take one step and go, okay, so I can start to do some 24-hour fasts. I can start adding some fermented foods in. I can get some sunshine. So just write down, what can you do in this moment? And now you're doing that, and you're going to feel a little more powerful, a little more powerful. So now you go, okay, what's the next step? What can I do now? Okay, maybe now I can go find myself a really good probiotic. Maybe I can start exercising more. Maybe I've been meaning to go find a chiropractor. I'm going to go find a good chiropractor. So each step is going to provide you with another sense of certainty, and it's going to provide you with more power. It's when we feel powerless that our mind will run crazy. So I really wanted to come today and put that out to you guys. So I will open it up for questions if we have any questions, but I want to make sure that you guys have that, that you were given that information. So.
Well, people are appreciating it from all over the world.
Okay.
As usual,
awesome.
People from London. I think this is a worldwide issue. Immunity is
important. We're definitely in a worldwide issue, and you know, I'll be frank about it, because when I say certain words on YouTube, not everybody gets as much access to those key words that the algorithm has figured out to slow down the progress of certain videos. So I'm trying to stay in a higher immune system piece, but I also know that in my clinic, I'm hearing this from patients that are coming in, and there's mass hysteria. And go watch the video I did last Tuesday on this. Mass hysteria, when we go into stress, we shut down our immune system. Stress is not where we want to go right now. When we start to give our power of our health away to doctors and to media and to politicians, that does not going to help us. We need to go, what can I do right now? And it's not going to be one thing. You know, old school healthcare has taught us that if you have a problem, you take one pill. That's not what we're going to need to do right now. We need to build ourselves, all of us individually, a lifestyle that builds up our immune system. That's what's going to be key. And then as we know how to build our immune system, we can turn around and teach others. That's how we change healthcare. So
some people want to know if they can't, a few people ask this question.
Okay.
If you can't do sauerkraut as a probiotic. Okay.
Yeah, probiotic is good. So actually, this is a really good topic I have never really dove into on Facebook. How do you choose a good probiotic?
This is YouTube.
I'm sorry, we're on YouTube. It's been a long week. Okay, on YouTube. So how do you choose a good probiotic? So a couple things. You want to look for a probiotic that has a lot of different strains of bacteria. So most probiotics are going to have anywhere from 10 strains of different bacteria all the way up to I think the most I've ever seen is in the 50s or 60s. So this is important because they believe we have somewhere between 1,000 to 6,000 different species of bacteria in our gut. So we don't want to always do the same probiotic over and over again with the same 10 species. We want diversity. So when you can find one that's 40, 50 different species, great. Okay, so now we're coming from a broader perspective. The other thing you want to look for is how many CFUs are in there. That's how many of those little good guys are in there. So one of our favorites is MBC. We can put links in here for you guys, but MBC, you can find it on Revelation Health. It's put out by Systemic Formulas, and it has 100 billion CFUs. Well, when I first found MBC, that was like the highest amount of good bacteria that we could find in a probiotic. Other probiotics have come along the way now, but more strains, more CFUs, and then the third piece is you want a probiotic that says it's made with prebiotic fibers. The prebiotic fibers are what are going to feed the probiotics. So what ends up happening is you put all this good bacteria in there, but then you get the food with the prebiotic stuff, and now you got yourself in good shape. So if you can't do sauerkraut or you hate sauerkraut, now is the time to lean into a probiotic and get the highest powered one you can get.
David wants to know how much vitamin C is in a serving of sauerkraut. It depends
that's a great question.
It depends on the sauerkraut. It
Yeah.
totally depends on the sauerkraut.
Yeah, so David asked how much vitamin C in sauerkraut. There is some, which is great. So it's a great, because now you're like stacking your health habits, right? So you're getting your vitamin C plus you're getting your bacteria, and it will depend on the length of fermentation. So I don't know if we always know. You might look on the bottle. I'm a big fan of emailing companies like, hey, have you measured the vitamin C amount of your sauerkraut? I think that's awesome.
Someone and this is on the same topic, so I'm going to ask it right now. Kefir.
Kefir.
So kefir.
Okay, I just had some kefir. I've been leaning into our kefir quite a bit. So kefir has trillions of good bacteria in it. Raw kefir. This isn't like sugary kefir that you get at your supermarket. This is raw kefir. Is one of the best foods you can do to support good bacterial health.
But both dairy-based and non-dairy.
You could do both. So what kefir does is it adds these trillions of bacteria in. You're never going to find a probiotic that will tell you it has trillions of bacteria. So start off, the amount of bacteria you can get is great. Now if you're really interested in knowing more about raw kefir, cow kefir, go watch the interview I did with Mark McAfee on the healing power of raw milk. He talks about how because those bacteria are so strong, what happens is they can go in and change the microbiome that even somebody who's allergic to lactose or to dairy starts to thrive when we get these key bacteria in there. Now, if you're not sure and you're dairy intolerant or you're a vegan, you don't do dairy, there are plant-based kefirs. Like we do cocoa, we've talked about that a lot. And so you can find some coconut yogurt kefirs as well. But kefir is it's much more powerful than sauerkraut. And then we talked about kimchi. Kimchi, when you ferment a green onion or ginger, what you're doing is you're creating the growth of a bacterial species called Lactobacillus plantarum. And Lactobacillus plantarum is specific for killing viruses. So making sure you're leaning into some kimchi along with the sauerkraut is really good.
Just staying on that topic, Jason had a specific question about Lactobacillus reuteri,
Yep.
which I think you're a big fan
of. L. reuteri, it's my favorite. Yeah, what about it?
He just wanted to know what you thought about it because Dr. Davis from the Wheat Belly talks about it.
Yes, he does. And he has a really cool yogurt made with it. So I recommend you try it. I've done it a couple of times here. Okay, so L. reuteri, Lactobacillus reuteri, and Lactobacillus rhamnosus, those are both a part of the estrobolome. Okay, I know all of this sounds very foreign, but the estrobolome is the part of your microbiome that breaks down estrogen. And yes, this applies to men as well.
Yeah.
So I want to make sure that we don't clump estrogen into it's a woman-only hormone. Men are getting estrogen levels at the highest we've ever seen. So make sure that we want to keep your estrobolome happy and healthy so it can break down any estrogen you come in contact with that could be toxic. So to answer your question about the Wheat Belly, William Davis's L. reuteri yogurt, I think it's a brilliant idea because he has you take L. reuteri and put it into yogurt and then ferment it. I would prefer to get my probiotics in food sources. So I love that idea. And he has a whole blog on how it calms people down. Well, that's because it's helping nourish the estrobolome. If estrogen gets really high, then there's going to be a more anxiety, a greater frenzy inside the body where the body can't relax. So yeah, L-reuteri is going to cause you to calm yourself down, bring you more joy. So yeah, great question. I think that's an awesome tool.
Okay. Somebody's trying to help some low-income folks in Toronto. I don't know what Natasha's doing. Maybe the best way
you can help a low-income person or somebody has a money barrier with their health is teach them how to fast. It's also the best tool for teaching the busiest person you know. So the two things about fasting that are incredible is that it doesn't take money and it doesn't take time. It just takes knowledge. That's why we're teaching it here on YouTube. That's why we teach it in the Women's Reset, in our academy, because we're trying to give you guys the tools so you can do it and believe in it. And the research supports it. A lot of health experts are on it. So
intermittent fasting, it doesn't have to be a block
fast. Could be just intermittent fasting
12
alone.
Hours, you're starting to get benefit.
Yep.
Okay. Somebody mentioned that petting dogs helps with keeping tension down.
Petting dogs. So my book, The Menopause Reset, will be out in a couple of weeks. If you would like a copy of it, I'm sending out digital copies. Just put Menopause Reset in there. And in that book, I talk about the hormonal hierarchy. And I've done videos on this. And what we have to realize is at the top of our hormones, so insulin's down here, which we're all trying to affect with fasting, at the top is oxytocin. So oxytocin, when we upregulate oxytocin, what we do is we lower down cortisol. When cortisol comes down, then we start to bring down insulin. So the top part of this hierarchy is so important. And you can get oxytocin by petting your dog. Sometimes when I get in bed, if I feel like it's been a busy day and I can't relax, I'll just pet my dog and then I'm out. It's like that oxytocin dampens down the cortisol. So it's a really, really good point, and we should all get dogs and start petting them, especially right now.
Gina wants to know your thoughts on enzymes.
Enzymes. Okay. Gina wants to know about enzymes. So our body should make enough enzymes for us to break down food. But if we're not breaking down food efficiently, then the systemic enzymes are very helpful. So how do you know if you're not breaking down food well? So bloated after you eat is a big one. If you're one of those people that you're like, I just don't digest fats well, I don't digest protein well. Some people get bloated after fibers. Some people feel like they get constipated after they eat carbohydrates. Then yes, you're going to want to lean into enzymes. And there's a couple of my favorites. I use a lot with my patients Enzee, ENZEE, and you can get it on Revelation Health, and it's to break down carbohydrates. So if you have trouble breaking down protein, we have an enzyme called MELA, MELA. You can get that on Revelation Health, and it breaks down protein. So sometimes it's really helpful to observe what you're not breaking down well. Now, the other trick that I've used is, of course, you guys know I'm a fan of the gut zoomer. And when I run gut zoomer profiles on people, I can see if they have the enzymes to break down estrogen, if they have the enzymes to break all these things down, then you know if you would benefit from one or another. But yeah, I'm a fan of enzymes. If you're taking them all the time, you haven't gotten to the root of the problem, but they can be a good tool as you're starting to fix your health. A big fan. Okay. And try taking them on an empty stomach. They don't always need to be taken with food.
We have time for just a few more questions. Lorena wants to know, she's had half of her thyroid removed.
Okay.
And she's taking medication for hyperthyroidism. Can she fast? Intermittent fast.
Intermittent fast. Yes. So intermittent fasting, the New England Journal of Medicine came out, reviewed all the literature, and is really coming forward and saying intermittent fasting is incredibly helpful for most conditions, but also emphasizing that there's specific conditions. So if you're not sure what those conditions are, I've done a whole video on it. And it's basically, I think the title of the video is like why your doctor will be recommending intermittent fasting to you. So the trick here with thyroid and fasting is you're going to need to do one of two things. One is you want to just observe your symptoms. If you start getting strong heart palpitations, if your hair starts falling out as you're fasting more and more, then there can be a healing effect that happens, and you might need, if you're on thyroid medication, you might need to go back to your doctor and have them readjust your thyroid medication. I have seen this happen over and over and over again, where people clean up their diet, they go into fasting, they detox themselves, and now the levels of medication they were on need to be readjusted. This is where you want to bring your doctor into that picture. You should not readjust your own medications. You should work with your doctor to get them to understand what you're doing and how you're changing your lifestyle, and you should readjust accordingly. The other thing I'll say about thyroid is that it's the canary in the coal mine. So when the thyroid starts malfunctioning, usually it's a sign your toxic load is getting high. So autophagy fasting would be great because there's a bit of a self-repair in that process. But you're also going to want to look at heavy metal detoxing and really work on a deep detox to clean out those toxins. Especially if you have half of a thyroid, you still can get some repair. So those are my thoughts there.
Okay. So this is a good question for this because we sort of talked about it a little bit.
Okay.
Kim Lutz wants to know, is there a situation when you should not be fasting? Now, there are some cancers. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so Kim, hello, by the way. When should you not be fasting? There's a couple of times I would say. The first is, I think the person I progress through fasting the slowest is the person that's extremely adrenal fatigued. If your adrenals are already really shot, then you're going to want to be you either want to work with a coach or you want to be very systematic how you go into a fast. So I would start by working on your diet and bringing carbohydrate load down, up your good fat, and then once you've done that, move to like pushing your breakfast back an hour and slowly work yourself into that. So that would be my number one thing, is that when I get a patient with adrenal fatigue, we're very slow and methodical about how we go into fasting. The other place would be, and it really depends what type of fast, but if you have you're chronically ill and you're very thin and you don't have a lot of energy, that's not the time necessarily to throw a fast in. You can use the fasting principles, but you may want to build your body up first before you fast. But otherwise, and then of course pregnant and nursing.
Young kids.
Perfect, yeah.
Yeah, there's some other.
Yeah, pregnant, nursing. You never want your kids to fast unless they want to fast, but you never want to force fasting on them. You're going to get more food issues down the road. So those are the kind of things. But as far as general health conditions, adrenal fatigue and really severely ill.
Okay. So. Definitely there's just some comments about fermented foods and which ones are better and store-bought. If it's not raw and it doesn't have live probiotics, it's not really helping you.
Yeah, so let's go back to fermented foods because these questions keep coming up. So you want it to be raw. So this is why one of the things that when I first started educating my patients on kefir, one of the things that I saw was everybody rushed out and got that tasty kefir at the market that has added sugar in it and is pasteurized. And I realized that's actually the opposite of what we're trying to do. Any dairy product that's pasteurized is not going to have any bacterial or enzyme component to it. And sugar is going to depress your immune system. So you want it to be raw. And sauerkraut's actually pretty easy to make. So I would make sure that you're either making it at home or I would buy it from the store. I call them artisan sauerkrauts. There seems to be all these sauerkrauts that are popping up because people are waking up to the power of their microbiome, which is awesome. But you want to lean into the raw ones, and then you want to look and go, okay, if you have your favorite sauerkraut and it's a beet-based sauerkraut, and you're eating beet-based, which is one of my favorite, you're eating it over and over over again, it's the fermentation of different vegetables that are going to give you a different bacterial balance. So when you eat fermented beets over and over again, you're only getting a small bacterial addition. Whereas if you're doing beets and you're doing cabbage and you're doing carrots and you're doing green onions and ginger and you're doing the variety, the fermentation of each one of those is going to add a whole nother level of diversity for you. We were out to dinner a week ago, and I went to a restaurant that had pickled vegetables on the menu with my food. And so I was like, oh, I'm going to get that, of course. So they gave me pickled cauliflower. It's like, oh, it's kind of cool. I don't typically do pickled cauliflower. So that's what you're looking for, is the diversity of vegetables.
Okay, and then we're just going to sort of end on this one because it's a different topic
slightly,
okay, but it's about fasting.
Okay.
And fasting and cancer. So some cancers are fantastic. And
yeah, go watch. If the question's on fasting and cancer, go watch the video I did on why your doctor is going to start recommending intermittent fasting to you, because I really dive into the review article on it, and they say in there which cancers it's good for and not. Now, I will tell you that breast cancer, they've done a study, and I tell all my patients who have been through the breast cancer experience that they're showing that there is a 70% less reoccurrence for women with who have breast cancer if they intermittent fast. And this was women who got a diagnosis, went through chemo, the cancer had gone away, and then they started intermittent fasting, and they found that there was a 70% less chance of them having that cancer come back. That's amazing. I actually have a patient who's going through the breast cancer experience right now, and she was at our local hospital, and they were giving her a nutrition class, and they taught her that in the nutrition class, which is really cool. That's how mainstream intermittent fasting is getting. So that one's really good. Colon cancers. Colon cancer is all about diet and fasting. Those kind of cancers are going to respond really well to fasting. So go look at intermittent fasting. Follow Dr. Nasha Winters. She has a really good book out called The Metabolic Approach to Cancer. So she'll have a lot more to say about which cancers. But in general, most cancers you do really well with. Fasting will help. And there are a few you have to look out for. And Dr. Nasha is more of an expert on that. So, okay, with that, you guys are powerful. Just please tell yourself, get a little mantra in your head like, I am powerful. My immune system is crazy strong. I'm a viral fighting machine. Like, get little mantras in your head so when people around you are hysterical, when the news is making you hysterical, you know you're in control and that there's a lot you can do. So with that, and those of you joining us in the Women's Reset, we'll see you on Sunday, and congrats on another wonderful fast training week.